one. Yeah, that's why we do have our responsibilities to achieve that goal, and in that condition the collaboration do get success. Yeah, and regarding this intergovernmental collaboration in transboundary issues, the same thing. We could have collaboration in many things, in technology, in skills, in knowledge, experience, resource, innovation. Many, there are many parameters. We do have a collaboration. Yeah, that's why for
Thank you, sir. Thank
make
you.
that functional, we do have a regular interaction, and sharing is the most. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, both Bhandari sir and Badri sir. I think the continuous dialogue and data sharing is definitely is a key backbone of any kind of cooperations. Yeah. And Badri sir, you also give a very different perspective. How do we imagine the ideal situation? Because it's a very relative term. Thank you. And now I would like to come to Rajiv. Rajiv, again, within 2 minutes. You have done so much of research in Koshi, and you must have faced quite a lot of challenges. So, from the academic perspective, how do you envisage the ideal cooperations, for example, in the Koshi Basin?
Yeah, thank you, Santosh. I think I would like to put forward a couple of points. I totally agree with, Badriji, that what we need is an institutional collaboration. I think the individuals, are important because ultimately individuals are the ones who work. But then we need to have a formal institutional collaboration, because if people move out from that place, the collaboration, stays. That's one. And I think I totally agree with what he says, that it's a very complex situation because, water and sediments are dealt with multiple departments, hazards included, and therefore it becomes quite complicated to put together all these people with different ideas, different perspectives, and so on. That's one. The second is that I think it's time, and I think we saw that in the morning session as well, that the amount of the use of the modern technology which is coming up, in the academia, that needs to be transferred to the concerned departments. Okay, I think the conventional use of field-based methods and RTK and all the things are, they're all important. But I think the use of modern technologies that needs to be brought into the concerned departments, and I think this is where the academia and the concerned department, they need to work together. Of course, we are always often blamed that we are only interested in research. But then if you do not have a policy which is backed by a sound research, I think it is unlikely to succeed. That's what I have always believed. And therefore, science has to go on. But at the same time, we also have to come forward and should be able to and willing to transfer that technology to the concerned department. That's the second point I wanted to raise. And that relates to the third point, which is the capacity building issue. I think, we must also understand that in academia, while we keep ourselves updated in terms of the latest research and latest technology, the concerned departments are not obviously motivated to do that, right? And therefore, we need to develop a mechanism by which we keep updating, these people, because these are the people who will ultimately matter when you want to implement your ideas and your research for mitigation. They are the people who are going to work on the ground. So if their knowledge base or if their technical skills are not updated, we are very, very unlikely to succeed in terms of the actual implementation. And the fourth and the final point, that while we keep on doing these institutional intergovernmental collaborations, I think it is also important that we keep backing it up with more and more research based collaborations, and that should go on. That typically happens between the individuals, but that's also important. And just to give you a very quick example of the success of the institutional collaboration, let's remember that August 2014 landslide dam, which happened in the Sankosi River, and it was only because of the very active collaboration between ICIMOD and the BSDMA that a very big disaster was averted. The way quickly the whole thing was mapped by ICIMOD scientists, the extent was established, and then of course the entire information was transferred to BSDMA that look, nothing of that sort is going to happen. There was a big scare that the entire Kosi will flood and half of Bihar will get inundated and so on. all of that did not happen because there was a timely transmission of the information in the data. So I'll stop here and maybe we can come back to this.
Thank you, Rajiv. Now we have a last round of questions to everyone. Before that, I would like to request all the audience to, if you have any questions, please put your question on the chat section. And if you want to ask very definite questions to any of the panelists, please also indicate. Now we are coming to the last round of questions. And last round of questions, now you see, we have already discussed about the challenges of the regional cooperation on landslide and sedimentations, and how do we, overcome those challenges, and how do we engage the very kind of suitable collaboration opportunities. And then the point that Rajiv just highlighted is the institution capacity buildings, and then the modern technologies and capacity buildings are very, very important. So my last questions to all panelists is, how should be the future outlook of the regional cooperations for disaster risk reduction in the Kosi Basin, and how we should go ahead as a kind of, the very quick kind of roadmap that you can think of, and how the Kosi DRR Knowledge Hub can play a role to this. So my first question goes to two government representatives, first with the Rajendra Bhandari sir, and then to Badri sir. Rajendra sir.
Yes. Thank you, Santosh sir. The ideal collaboration, I would say the regional collaborations is possible, but we have to have a strong dialogue among the stakeholders. And in this context, what I suggest is in the mountain, especially in the mountain region, we have a lot of problem with landslides in the last few years because of the probably because of the road construction, rural road construction, and all these things. And for that, we have to have improve our capability to build our infrastructures. This is the one thing. And then I have one additional things that I have to add on. The seismic monitoring, what the Christoph and Christine Cook has discussed about the Gulf event. We have to monitor the Gulf event because we have a facility of seismic stations, permanent seismic stations in our department. To move forward with this seismic data, and then additionally we can look at the stations, different stations, and try to find out the Gulf event, how it works. And this is one thing. Then the second thing is normally in the mountain region, we have a problem of shallow slides. Shallow slides because you have a spring line in a permanent perennial spring line in the mountain, and what will happen is when the rainfall starts in the monsoon and the spring line goes up, and there is a transition, the fall of groundwater level. And if this is just my idea, that if we install the monitoring system like a groundwater monitoring system strongly in different part of the basin, then it will definitely tell us some idea about where the possible landslide would be, and that could be one of the best idea that we can look on in the future research work. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you highlighted very important point of monitoring and then the dialogues among the partners. Now I would like to go to the Badri sir. Can you please also address the same questions?
Okay, thank you, Santosh ji. Okay. I think regarding this future outlook of regional cooperation, especially in dealing with the disaster risk reduction now we are talking about the Kosi Basin, but the disaster and this theme is equally important for the whole other basins also. I think, may I remind you, in yesterday inaugural session and then immediately after inaugural session, the key remarks by our NPC, National Planning Commission Vice Chairperson, your Director General and CEO of NDRRMA and other dignitaries, they have also mentioned the importance of this such this forum and these dialogues to boost the policy makers about the future collaboration and cooperation framework. Yeah. regarding this, we already Rajiv Sinha also mentioned that we have to feedback or give the continuous information and support to the
Badri sir?
research. There are academicians, researchers, and many organizations. Some are working in the community level, some are working in the special research, some are working in more scientific. It's regarding this disaster. There are multi-sectoral and multi-dimensional and multi-themes, multi-thematic area. But the
Badri sir, there is a disconnection. Badri sir, we can't hear you. Okay, there's some disconnection or Badri sir, it looks like you are muted.
The findings of the research to be continuously given. We have to develop such a practice and then framework to give feedback to the policy makers, and then to materialize it in a function at the different tiers and different levels by the different stakeholders. That's why the future collaboration would be, it could be at the institutional level, intergovernment level, and then the forum like, and the institution like ICIMOD, and then there's like this kind of forum could be a platform to share the knowledge, experience, and our innovation, and then that findings could be given to the policy makers for making the appropriate policy, and that policy need to be materialized at the from ground level to the top level, at the from ministry to the village level. Then we could do some concrete work on the disaster risk reduction at community, and then building the resilience of the mountains people there.
Thank you, Badri sir. Very insightful comments. Like not only the research taking to policy, and then to again going back to the field levels to support.
Yeah, to implementation level. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, before I go to Rajiv, I'll just quickly go to Kripa. Kripa, you have been involved in the DRR Knowledge Hub from the very beginning. Can you please indicate how the Kosi DRR Knowledge Hub can play a role in the regional cooperations in 2 minutes?
Thank you so much. Actually, KDKH is generally a platform that we are talking since yesterday. That a platform is necessary to bring the ideas together, to work together, and it is very important to work in a team. Since talking about the KDKH, which has been basically conceptualized to a platform which is more driven by the members by themselves, and also enhancing the transboundary collaboration, promoting science, policy, and practice linkage. And KDKH is basically not only working in creating knowledge and sharing information, but also influencing the policy, like Badriji just now mentioned about research taking into the policy and impacting in the ground level as well. And KDKH is a platform which is also dealing with all these things, including the raising of awareness, connecting landscape, and also embracing the biodiversity. So it is very much important to have such a platform, and being in the landslide and sedimentation working group as well, we are also working together to make a multi-hazard paper, which is a research paper. We are working with the whole team from India, Nepal, and China as well. We are also still hoping that this will also give a very strong contribution to the policy making process as well.
Okay, thank you, Kripa, for very concise remarks. Again, emphasizing that science policy practice is very important. At last, I would like to go to Rajiv. Rajiv, I would also like to request you to address one question from how the international research community can contribute. You can also address this question. But before that, coming to that, our third question, I mean, you already heard about the regional cooperation is very important and how we should go ahead. I would like to request you to highlight these questions from what would be the cost of non-cooperation? You know, if there is no cooperation in the three countries, so how, what would be the situation? So these two things, if you can address the question and then the question on the chat, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think I would like to bring in one rather important concept here on the table, and that is something which we have been working on, and that is the multi-hazard concept. I think, you know, that's very, very important to understand that we have to understand that we need to stop looking at each of these hazards in a separate compartmentalized way. Okay, so I think they are all very connected. I mentioned that, you know, previously as well, and therefore, you know, there has to be a system of assessing the multi-hazard in a given basin. Okay, and that needs certain protocol. You know, that needs to be developed. That's, you know, still doesn't exist, but we need to develop that. This is not something unique to COSI, and this is why I bring in the contribution from the international community. This is good that we had several colleagues from Potsdam participating in this group, and I'm sure similar things have happened in other groups as well. But I think it is very important to realize that there's a lot happening, you know, in the international research area. And while we need a regional cooperation in terms of mitigating the risk, right? But we also need a lot of international community to come forward and and contribute in terms of the scientific inputs and in terms of the understanding they may have developed from other areas as well. For example, I mean, we saw a very interesting talk by Chris and Kristen this morning, where I could not have thought about an application of that kind, where one could use the seismic data to estimate the the sediment dynamics, for example, and that seismic data is again coming from either from a big landslide and so on. So therefore, there's a very nice connection they could establish between the hazard related processes, landslide and seismic signals, and to the hydrological processes like sediment dynamics, for example. Now this is a perspective which has to come from, and this will only come when we have people coming from different perspective and different parts of the world joining in. That's one aspect I wanted to clearly bring in. And I think we have been fairly successful, in doing that. And of course, the cost of non-cooperation is very obvious to understand. You will certainly increase the loss of life and property. These disasters are going to be much more frequent and much more extensive for two reasons. One, that the human interventions have increased many fold. The land use land cover changes have increased many fold. And therefore, we have intervened and we have disturbed a lot of the natural processes anyway. And therefore, if you don't collaborate now, then I think we are heading for a much bigger disaster, with much more loss of life and property and so on. That's quite understood, I think. So I'll stop.
Okay, thank you, Rajiv. Sometimes when you look at the problems from different angle and so that the cost of non-cooperations could be very high in terms of both infrastructure, in terms of people, and ultimately to the economy, I think that can also, probably help us to move towards the regional cooperation. So thank you very much. I think we also, Rajiv also addressed the question from Christoph on the international research community contribution. And we are coming towards the end of this panel discussions. It's very enrichful discussions from the very esteemed panelists, bringing the all sides of from the government perspective, young researchers, but as well as the academic perspective. And I would like to thank you all the panelists for the very interesting, insightful remarks on the topic that we are trying to address. It definitely has highlighted that the regional cooperation is important. We are working on it, but there needs to be done more in terms of data sharing, in terms of technology, in terms of capacity building, and not only addressing the problems, but taking the problem solutions to the policy level, and it can be further applied at the local level to solve the problem, which is the ultimate goal of the our research effort. So with this, I would like to end the panelist, and we are coming towards the very end of the session. And the only remaining thing is the concluding remarks from the whole session. And if you give me 5 minutes, I'd just like to quickly highlight the major thing from the entire session today. So in today's session, we have tried to highlight the importance of landslide and sediment issues in the transboundary Kosi River Basin. And from the presentation and discussions, we have already realized the importance of sedimentation across the basin. Whether it happens in China or Nepal, the effect can be seen across the basin. Therefore, it is very important to understand the drivers of landslide and sedimentation, the physical processes when they move from upstream to downstream areas, and how they interact with other natural and anthropogenic systems and create the impacts at a different level. And sometimes here we can also see the compounding effect. We had a very interesting research, the updates from Basanta, who highlighted the both natural and anthropogenic cause of the land degradations, river morphology changes. And from Christoph and Christians, we had this very innovative technology of the seismometer network to monitor the seismic activities. That innovative modern equipment and technology can definitely create positive effects. And then this post-earthquake processes which they have highlighted, and that's something like a proof of concept which probably can be applied to the other part. The seismic detection of Gulf events was also very interesting to hear. The Kanchan presented very interesting integrated assessment work from hydrology, sediment, connectivity to flood risk. So that was something like, emphasize that the multi-hazard concept is very, very important. And then the climate variability, hillslope stability and sediment transport from Professor Bodo, although the experience was from the Western Himalaya, but definitely that counts on the Kosi also. So that's a good learning. I'm particularly highlighting the very important best practices that we heard both from the Chinese side by using the LiDAR technology to detect the landslide-related hazards and continuous landslide monitoring using the modern equipment was very, very important, and probably we can learn this in the Nepal Kosi side as well. Another very local scale best practices coming from our Nagdevji and other colleagues is very important, from conservation management to vegetation bioengineering function. So that shows that we need to adopt the multi-scale integrated approach for problems. Even to solve the problems of sedimentation, we have to also look at the water conservation. So that's very, very enriching, and we are very, very refreshed with the panel discussions, enriching panel discussions. So I don't need to repeat, but what coming out from the panel discussion is the regional cooperation is very important, data sharing is very important, capacity building is very important, and also the cooperation at the different scales, the international community. Some of the examples that Bhandari sir shared, that the recent the research the project which is beginning with the Durgam University. I think these are very, very important part of the regional cooperations, but also the interest and continuous effort of dialogue is also very important on the regional cooperation. And then I think with this we also touched upon, if you look at the both science aspect, what is happening in the Kosi, but also the practice aspect, and then from the policy side, we heard from the prominent esteemed panelists how we should move ahead on the regional cooperation front. But I'd also like to towards the end highlight is that there is a very grim situation if there is a non-cooperation. That is the cost of the people, that is the cost of the infrastructure, and a lot of livelihoods related opportunities. And then I think the aim of the Kosi DRR Knowledge Hub is also to to bring all the like-minded people together and serve as a knowledge hub, and to create a platform of the like-minded group to work together for these issues. So I think with this I would like to conclude this session, and thank you very much. And my apology that we had to go like 20 minutes more. And I'm just looking at last if there is any remaining questions on the chat section. Okay, we are trying to develop a concept paper. Okay, Rajiv has just indicated that we are trying to develop a concept paper on the multi-hazard. So that is very encouraging. And Kanchan said that Kanchan would like to make a very quick announcement at the end. Kanchan, this is all from my side, and announcement from your side, please. Kanchan? Okay, we couldn't hear, but probably Kanchan will leave a message or send the email message to the email. So thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll see tomorrow the concluding sessions tomorrow. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, Santosh, can I make a quick announcement? Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. Yes, thanks everyone for a wonderful discussion and session. So tomorrow, all the session will provide their summary. So it's day 3 of the 4-day annual dialogue. So tomorrow you'll be hearing session summaries from floods, drought, GLOF, landslides, and sedimentation in the morning. So please do join us again for session summaries, and then we'll have a panel discussion on what to focus on transboundary collaboration and how to make it effective from like the overall session, parallel session summaries tomorrow. So if you missed any session, it's a great time to join in. Tomorrow afternoon is media session. So we have media representatives from 3 countries and sharing the stories from the Koshi Basin. You know, what is it like to report on disasters during COVID times and all that. So it's going to be an interesting session. Please do join us. And on day 4, on Friday, we'll be talking about the KDKH strategy and guideline. So it'll be a very important discussion on how we want this hub to shape up in the future and how do we go about finalizing the strategy and guidelines. So again, thanks everybody for your patience and for your contribution plus. But do continue to join us. We're halfway through and we still have 2 more days to go. Thanks, Santosh. Thanks all the rapporteurs, all the presenters and panelists. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Kanchan, and thank you everyone. Have a great evening. And I would also like to thank at the end the anchor points at Isimod, Subina Shrestha, Kripa Shrestha, and Kabir Uddin for their continuous effort to make this session very fruitful. Thank you very much. Have a good day.